You can join me with the Mangalacharan and Guru Pranam Mantra. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Shrato Pango Mama Manda Matirgati Mat Sarva Sampadam Bojo Radha Madana Mohana दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यो कल्पद्रुमदः श्रीमद्रत्नागदो सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमन्राधा श्रीरघुविन्ददेवौ रष्टादिभिः श्रीरमानो स्मरामि श्रीमन्रासारसारम्भि वंशिवातास्ततस्थितः दर्शन् वेणो शनर्गोपीर्गोपीनाथ श्रेयस्तु नः अप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नित्यनामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशधारिणे नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भागवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नश्यति निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखादमृतद्रावसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसं मालयम् Muraho Rasika Bhuti Bhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, fellow Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanates from the lips of Sri Sukadev Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पङ्कजनाभाय नमः पङ्कजमालिने नमः पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्गे त्वयि मे अनन्तविषय मधुपते आसकृत् रतिम् उद्वहतात् अधा गङ्गे वौगम् मुदन्वतिः O Lord of sweetness, Madhupate, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vigna Vinashanarsimha Namine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayatim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Brahmananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everybody, welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam. This is chapter 18, Mhj Parikshit cursed by a Brahmana boy. So hopefully we can finish this chapter today. This is our fifth session. fifth session of this chapter. So let's do a recap quickly what we have done previously in this chapter. So this chapter began with how with details about Maharaj Parikshit's great fortune, Mahabhagyam. So how Maharaj Parikshit was extremely fortunate to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So that we will come to hear eventually. But even before that, how he was, having an illustrious lineage, being brought up by the Pandavas, being saved personally by the Supreme Lord himself, and being extremely devoted to the Lord. So in this way, he was Mahabhagyam and endowed with many great qualities. And then we heard a pastime of how Maharaj Parikshit kept Kali in check. So that was already discussed in previous chapters. How when Maharaj Parikshit was traveling, he came across a very strange scene where there was a bull and a cow, and the bull was standing on one leg and being beaten by a so-called king, but actually it's Kali personified, dressed like a king, but he was attacking the bull, who was none other than Dharma himself. And then there was a lot of conversation that went between the bull and the cow replied, and then Maharaj Parikshit came also, and he saw this situation, and we heard all this previously. So then, while continuing this narration, this narration was being given by Sutta Goswami to the sages of the Naimisharanya forest. So then, but the sages were so eager to hear. So therefore they were called Chushru Shatam. Chushru Shatam means very anxious. They want to hear more. So and they were also described as Rasavit. Rasavit means they desired to experience taste. They wanted to have transcendental taste. And what was their taste for? Taste for Shravanam. And this way, Sutta Goswami responded to them, he replied to them, he reciprocated to them. Since you are so anxious and you have so much attachment, right? Uh, so then he glorified them, and then he told how Shravanam is very important. The hearing about the pastimes and the qualities of the Lord is very important. And then he continues to narrate what happens after that. Because initially he just happened to mention that Parikshit Maharaj will be cursed. So that aroused the curiosity of the sages of Naimisaranya, and they immediately wanted to know. And they said, please tell us if it has anything to do with the Lord and his pastimes. So that is the standard of transcendental people. They don't want to hear about anything else. They only want to hear about anything to do with the Lord or his devotees. So Maharaj Sutta Goswami was happy. He said, definitely, yes. So therefore, he continues narrating the incident of the cursing of Parikshit Maharaj. So we heard previously how Parikshit Maharaj was, at one point, he was going hunting. And while he was hunting, he came across while he was hunting, he became very fatigued. He became very thirsty and tired and hungry. And then, in search of water, he came to a hermitage. He happened to come across a hermitage. So, that was the hermitage of Samika Rishi. Samika Rishi was deep in meditation. And while he was deep in meditation, what happened was when Parikshit Maharaj came, Samika Rishi did not receive him properly as how a guest should be received. So it's a very important point. But anyway, Parikshit Maharaj, what happened when he saw that Samika Rishi did not receive him? He was still meditating. So a doubt crept into his mind. And then he was thinking whether this person was really meditating or whether he's pretending to meditate just so that he can avoid receiving me to show respect to the king. So and angered by this situation about this blatant disregard of dharma, especially that also by a Brahmana, and that also in reception of a king, not an ordinary person. So therefore he became angry, and he even it's the Bhagavatam also described that he became envious, and therefore out of anger, but he didn't do anything very terrible. So what he did, Parikshit Maharaj, he saw a dead snake lying nearby, and then with the tip of his bow, he carried this dead snake and then draped it across the shoulders of the Samika Rishi while he was meditating. So Samika Rishi also was continuously meditating. He did not disturb him. So then the question may be asked: how could Parikshit Maharaj do this? Right? He is such a great personality, right? So several chapters were dedicated to describe the greatness of Parikshit Maharaj. In fact, one entire chapter was just finished where the qualities of Parikshit Maharaj was mentioned by the Brahmanas to Yudhishthira Maharaj when Parikshit Maharaj was born. How he would be truthful like Rama, how he would be charitable like Sibi, and so many things. So one could ask, how could and not only that, Parikshit Maharaj was he's Maha Bhagavat. Many times he was described as Maha Bhagavat, great personality of the Lord, devotee of the Lord. So is this how a devotee would behave? So such questions is valid. So we have covered this previously in the previous session, but just very quick recap also. So Parikshit Maharaj, I mean, one could justify based on dharma. So if Parikshit Maharaj did like this, how he could do like that? So first of all, uh, this reception of guests is not an ordinary thing. It's actually a very big aspect in Vedic civilization. It is part of the dharma. Dharma means the compulsory duty of anyone to receive a guest properly. So this clearly defines Vedic culture. So there's a verse in the I think one of the Vedas, or no, Purana or Vedas, I'm not sure, but it says Matra Devo Bhava. Matra Devo Bhava means mother is like God. Mitra Devo Bhava, which means friend is like God. Pitra Devo Bhava, that means the father is also like God. Putra Devo Bhava, the son is also like God. Acharya Devo Bhava, the guru is also like God. And Atiti Devo Bhava. Atiti Devo Bhava means that the guest or the uninvited guest is also to be treated like God. So therefore, when it means to be treated like God, when someone comes unannounced to one's house, one must imagine that that person is as if he's like God himself. So one should receive that person with all due. So that's why if you see Vedic culture, you see them, they will invite them, they'll wash their feet even, and then they will give them a place, at least compulsory lah. We should give a place to sit, a glass of water, some food available, and some sweet words if none of these things are available. Even if it's an enemy that has come to our house, one should receive them in this way. And this is the duty of especially a duty of a grahastha, but it's actually a duty of everyone, all classes of society. They are supposed to do this. And so justification. So Parikshit Maharaj may be thinking, this person, he's behaving like a Brahmana, but in the name of being a Brahmana, in the name of being in trance, he's neglecting this greatest of one of the great aspects of Vaishnava, of etiquette. So that could be a justification. But, so anyway, oh yeah, this is in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad is part of the Vedas. And then there is also another justification. So Naranam cha Naradipam. This Parikshit Maharaj is not an ordinary guest. So first of all, it says an uninvited guest, it's like God. And now there is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which says Naranam cha Naradipam. That means amongst humans, amongst the Naras means humans, I am the monarch. So Krishna is saying, right, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, he's like amongst beasts, I'm the lion and things like that. So he says, amongst men, I am to be respected as the monarch, to be treated like them. So therefore, twice, Parikshit Maharaj is like God. So number one, he is an uninvited guest. And then number two, he is the king of the world. So therefore, all the more one should have received Parikshit Maharaj. So therefore, there could be some justification to that. But of course, that is all external. external factors. Those are just external factors. Those are not the real aspect of the reason. And some acharyas have also described that Parikshit Maharaj is showing by negative example. What is negative example? He's showing people how one should not behave. So sometimes devotees do that. Even the Lord himself did that. When he came as Lord Ramachandra, when Lord Ramachandra came, when Sita Devi asked to go and hunt the golden deer, then he went, and he went to hunt the golden deer. So he's showing what would happen if he was to do something like that. So by his own example. And then when Sita Devi was abducted, Lord Ram started to cry and lament. This is very extraordinary for the Lord to lament in this way. So, but Acharyas also explain that Lord Ram is showing by his example of how human beings, if they become too attached, then they will develop lamentation in this way. So, but nevertheless, so this is kind of what we call negative example. By their own behavior, they teach how one should not behave. So actually, Parikshit Maharaj should not have done like this. Even though justification by dharma is there, that one could argue, he is a guest and he had some reason to be angry. So there is some reason to be angry, but Parikshit Maharaj was therefore setting as a negative example. That could be one example. What is this example? The example is, even if he was angry, even if he was thinking that this person didn't should not have behaved like this, nevertheless, that person was a Brahmana. So the Vedas, many places, the scriptures, uh, they stress about Brahmana seva, right? How the Brahmanas are the heads of society, and how they should be respected like God also. So they are also very important, and they should be served. It is the Kshatriyas, as how Parikshit Maharaj was a Kshatriya, his duty is to serve the Brahmanas' instructions. So one should not behave in that way, even if the Brahmana had made a mistake. So even Naradipam, even if he was a king, he was not exempt from this. He has to also, even if he was a king, the king has to respect the Brahmana. So what he did was not correct. So then that brings us back to the question, how could Parikshit Maharaj do like this? How he could do like this? So was this mentioned in our previous session, right? We did speak about why he did this. So all these external causes about dharma and all that, it's all just merely an excuse. Excuse for whom? Not for Parikshit Maharaj, excuse for the Lord. The Lord just used all these things as an external excuse only. Of course, in any situation, the Lord teaches many things. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narration, full of descriptions where all kinds of things are taught, right? So in one act, more than many instructions and lessons can be learned. So this is all external excuse only. And secondly, it is providential. That means one has to understand this is will of destiny. How we can understand that? It's described in Mahabharata that when some situation happens which is impossible, it's not possible for something to happen that way, right? Like for example, in Mahabharata, for for Yudhishthira Maharaj to take part in gambling, right, was impossible. How is it impossible? Because Yudhishthira Maharaj was Dharmaraj himself. He was incarnation of Dharma. He was an expansion of Dharmaraj, the son of Dharmaraj, and he was very gracious, and he was a great king. Nothing he did was ever wrong, and Yudhishthira Maharaj was very attached to truthfulness. And for someone who was attached to truthfulness, to abandon truthfulness and take up gambling, what does gambling do? Gambling destroys truthfulness, isn't it? So for the expansion of Yamaraj to abandon truthfulness and to take up gambling was just impossible. It could not happen, but still it happened. So if something like that happened, that means we have to understand that this is the will of destiny. This is this is providential, is foreordained, right? So these are very rare situations. So in the same way, we can understand that Parikshit Maharaj behaving this way was not, it's not possible because he had all these wonderful good qualities. It's just practically impossible that he would behave this way. So that means he behaved this way because of only one reason, is because it is the Purvam Eva Nimitta Matram Bhava Savya Sachin. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna in chapter 11, when Arjuna saw the universal form, and he didn't want to fight, right, initially, and he saw the universal form, and he saw Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, the entire armies from both sides, all the Kshatriyas, almost millions and millions of them, all will be entering into the mouth of the Supreme Lord as Kala Purusha and becoming destroyed. So at that time, Krishna will tell Arjuna, right? Purvam eva nimitta matram. Become my nimitta matram. Just become my instrument. So the destiny has already been set by me. I have already set this destiny. So simply become my instrument and act. That's it. So in that way, just like how the Lord in this way uses different devotees and to get something. So therefore, he used Yudhishthira Maharaj in this aspect. So it was the Lord's will that Yudhishthira Maharaj should be put into illusion, not Mahamaya, but Yoga Maya, spiritual illusion for a particular purpose. So that's why Parikshit Maharaj acted in this way. So to become his instrument. Why? Why did Lord want him to do like this? Why did the Lord want him? Because it was the destiny for Kali Yuga to take place. It is the time for Kali to come. So, and Kali was already checked by Parikshit Maharaj. So, as long as Parikshit Maharaj is alive, no way for Kali to come. And Parikshit Maharaj didn't look like any time he was going to leave. He was like, great personality, blessed with long life, and there is completely no way that Kali could ever come in. So therefore, the Lord had to make these certain arrangements in order for to to ensure that this progress of destiny continues. This is all part of the bigger part of the Lord's plan. So it's the only way for Kali to enter. So we will talk more about this detail. How does Kali enter, right? So Kali can enter. The beginning of Kali entering into anything is by doubt. That is by doubt of what? Doubt of the words of the Supreme Lord. Doubt of, in other words, doubt of scripture, doubt of the devotees, doubt of the Guru, doubt of the Supreme Lord, doubt of the Brahmanas. So that is the way. So it was impossible for Parikshit Maharaj to doubt the Supreme Lord, right? And it's impossible for Parikshit Maharaj to doubt scripture. So, and because he's a devotee, so therefore, Lord used the smallest of the doubts. He created a doubt that this Brahmana was pretending. So Parikshit Maharaj had this doubt, right? And that seed of doubt was enough for Kali to enter, right? So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, I think that's a verse, right? Nayam loko asti. That verse, it says that for the doubting soul, there is neither happiness in this world nor the next. So one who continues to doubt, right? Uh, he cannot make any progress so long as there are doubts in one's heart. One cannot progress in spiritual life. So in this life also one will not achieve any success, and the next life also one will not achieve any success. So that's why it's our duty to remove doubts. And it's described that doubt is the enemy of Shraddha. What is Shraddha? Shraddha is faith. Doubt is the enemy of faith. So Krishna planted this doubt as a seed in order for Kali to open the floodgates and come in this way, right? So, and by using Parikshit Maharaj in this way, Krishna is also showing us these lessons. So we need to fight. How do we overcome doubts? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, using the sword of knowledge, one should slash this enemy of faith, right? So that is the understanding. So, and it creates doubt. What kind of doubts he can? One is doubting that, when it's not, in material world, in this world, when somebody is more powerful than us, when somebody is in our superior position, when someone is placed in a higher position than us, we doubt sometimes that that person may take advantage of his position, right? For example, when a girl gets married to a husband, right? She's supposed to follow, everything, but she may have a doubt that the husband may take advantage of this. It's natural, it happens. In the same way, children are supposed to obey the father or the mother, but sometimes they may have a doubt. Oh, is my father and mother, are they taking advantage of this situation to get me to do what they want, and things like that. So in this way, we tend to doubt authority. So, like, for somebody is put, like, let's say we have a guru, so we accept a guru. Sometimes we may have a doubt. Is this guru, is it really true that he's a pure devotee, or is it really true that he means, this instruction? He knows what is in my heart when he gives me this instruction. So, like, these kind of doubts will come, right? So these are all to be understood as the seeds of Kali. These are ways in which Kali can, and fair enough, in Kali Yuga, people do have basis for doubts. You cannot say that somebody is having this doubt, oh, he's wrong to have such doubt, because in Kali Yuga these things happen, right? So, because people do take advantage. So when people are put into a authority position, they do take advantage of other people. They tend to exploit people under them. So when people see this, then they lose faith. So that's the problem, with Kali Yuga. When people are not trained properly, when people misuse, then the entire degradation of society starts to happen. So that's how, in the caste system in India became corrupted. The Varnashram system became corrupted like this. The people started doubting the Brahmanas. And true enough, the Brahmanas also didn't behave properly. They started exploiting society. They started exploiting people for their own gains. So it became a chicken and egg situation. One leads to the other, one leads to the other. So who is to blame in the beginning? So, but Srimad Bhagavatam, he is showing here, right? So one should, the beginning was doubt on the Brahmanas. So it all due to abuse and envy. Sometimes they envy. Oh, why should the Kshatriyas follow the Brahmanas' instruction? We are the ones doing all the work, in a human body, the arms, the arms may complain. Why should I take food and give food to the head? The head is getting everything. The head is making the decision. The head is also getting food into his mouth. And if anybody attacks, the first thing I will protect is the head. So why should I do all these things? So out of envy, the arms may speak like that. But what is going to happen? If the arm decides to act independently from the head, it's just senseless, right? It cannot work out. So in the same way, this is the problem. So due to abuse and envy, only way for Kali. But at the same time, the Lord also had a very deeper reason. The Lord's deeper reason in forcing Parikshit Maharaj to behave this way is because the Lord really, really, really wanted Parikshit Maharaj to come back to him. So Parikshit Maharaj was very, very dear to the Lord, right? He was very dear because, right, and we can see from the birth itself, the Lord, who did the Lord ever save from birth? Only Parikshit Maharaj, in the history. So he saved him from birth because he was a great devotee and also coming from the lineage of the Pandavas. And Parikshit Maharaj from birth, because he saw the Lord, he fell in love with the Lord from birth itself, before birth itself. And he was spending his entire life looking for the Lord. And he was a great personality. So there was a very beautiful relationship between Parikshit Maharaj and then the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna. So Krishna really, really wanted him to come back to him. So he showed the way back home. So he created this opportunity, Parikshit Maharaj, to leave everything and to come back home. And while doing this, he created this opportunity in such a way, right, that it will become a wonderful example for everybody in this world for centuries to come. By seeing the behavior and the response of Parikshit Maharaj, many people in this world will derive great inspiration. So he arranged this situation. So then the reason is the Lord wanted to use Parikshit Maharaj to show everybody in this world how something which looks very miserable and terrible can actually be a blessing in disguise. So there's this meaning the Acharyas describe, from shoka comes shloka. So what did the Lord do? From shoka means misery. What happened to Parikshit Maharaj? Parikshit Maharaj became cursed, right? That's the chapter. Maharaj Parikshit cursed by Brahmana boy. Because of his act, because of Parikshit Maharaj's act on this, he became cursed. So when he was cursed, then that is something miserable, isn't it? It's extreme grief, shoka. But Krishna is showing how a great personality, a great devotee, will see any situation as a opportunity for spiritual advancement. So from this situation, from this shoka comes shloka. Because of this situation, Srimad Bhagavatam was born, right? Apparently. So, and this is not new. Even before this, we saw Bhagavad Gita. How Bhagavad Gita also from shoka came shloka. Shloka means verses, right? From Arjuna's shoka, Bhagavad Gita shloka was produced. The Lord used Arjuna as an example. Same thing, Ramayana also. Ramayana, Valmiki accidentally shot an arrow and killed. He saw a bird die. Not Valmiki. Somebody, a king, shot an arrow and killed a innocent bird. And out of grief, Valmiki Muni uttered a curse in a very beautiful shloka, in a very beautiful meter, which was not heard before. And he was struck. How could I say this? So out of grief, so therefore he said, from shoka came shloka. Ramayana came in this shloka. So therefore, the Lord used this situation to bring about Srimad Bhagavatam into this world. And in this way, to show everybody many, many lessons. One is to show that in any reversals in life, do not despair, right? Try to see the Lord's blessings in everything and try to use these opportunities as a means to make spiritual advancement and learn from the great personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam, from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, how to respond to such situations or similar situations in our lives. That's the understanding. So therefore, to serve as an ideal spiritual example. So he wanted to use Parikshit Maharaj as an ideal spiritual example for everybody in this world. And in this way, he amazingly glorify his pure devotee, Parikshit Maharaj. So he wanted to glorify him. So these are all the reasons, right? So and that is how we can understand how Parikshit Maharaj behaved this way. He behaved this way, very simply put, simply because of the will of the Lord. The Lord made him behave this way. He put him in Yoga Maya for Lord's various reasons. So these are some of the reasons which we have highlighted here. But it could be many other reasons also. Uh, Time and acharyas will reveal them. So anyway, going back to our chapter. So how could Parikshit Maharaj behave this way? So we covered that. So then we talked about the curse of the Brahmana boy. So we heard previously how after hearing about this situation of what Parikshit Maharaj did to Samika Rishi. This boy is the son of Samika Rishi. He was very young, he was very immature, and he was playing with his friends. But when he heard this, how his father was insulted, apparently insulted, being surrounded by friends, young boys, when they're surrounded by friends, they like to show their bravado. They like to show, they are great, or, how when insult has happened, see, now I will correct the situation. So, being a Brahmana boy, he was very powerful. Even being a young boy, because he was born of a Brahmana, a great Rishi Samo, so he was endowed with some Brahminical tejas. But he did not have the wisdom and the understanding to use it. So, surrounded by, out of envy, out of pride, and he was also envious. So this Brahmana, Kali Yuga was about to start. So the Lord also created this situation, right, to also highlight the envy between the classes. So just like how Kshatriyas may envy the Brahmanas because they need to follow their instruction, the Brahmanas may also feel envy of the Kshatriyas if the Brahmanas are not pure. Because if the Brahmanas are not pure, they might become envious that the Kshatriyas are receiving so much of glory. So, envy of glorification, that should never touch the heart of a Brahmana. That's why the Brahmana purposely lives in poverty, because he doesn't want to have anything to do with glory or with, wealth or whatever. So, he keeps himself in that situation as a charity, someone who receives charity. But the Lord, if the heart is not pure, if the Brahmana's heart is not pure, then he may develop envy of the Kshatriya also, right? So this boy had such envy in his heart, and therefore the Lord used him as a seed for Kali to enter. Actually, not the Lord used, the Lord created the situation, but because of the boy's envy, he opened his heart to Kali. So Kali entered into the heart of this boy and used him as an instrument. So out of envy and pride, he immediately uttered a terrible curse upon Parikshit Maharaj, that he would die in 7 days due to the bite of a takshaka snake. Just like how Parikshit Maharaj put a dead snake on the shoulders of his father, he used that idea. The snake, now you playing with snake, right? I will send you a horrible snake to bite you and kill you. So in this way, he cursed him. So now we continue. So thereafter, when the boy returned to the ashram, he saw a snake on his father's shoulder, and out of his grief, he cried very loudly. Actually, this boy, his name is Shringi. The name of this boy is Shringi, and he did not know that there was he saw that when he saw the snake, he saw how the sight hurt him very much. That his father was disrespected in this way, right? And out of grief, he cried very loudly, and even the snake's body being put on the shoulder of the Samika Rishi did not wake him up. When Samika Rishi was disturbed, so-called disturbed by Parikshit Maharaj, that didn't wake him up from his trance. But when he heard the cry of his son, so that cry of his son, it pierced through the attachment. The attachment of that son pierced through his trance. So that broke his trance. So again, we can understand how attachment is dangerous, especially for one who is taking up the process of dhyana yoga. So one who takes up dhyana yoga, what does Bhagavad Gita say about dhyana yoga? One should go far away and live far away from family and then meditate, right? But Pramika Rishi here, he is meditating with his son nearby. So therefore, anyway, so that is again an indication of Kali coming out. So therefore, this Shringi, he cried and it woke up Pramika Rishi. So Prabhupada makes purport here. Due to Maharaj Parikshit's good government, even a boy of tender age who was playing with other inexperienced boys could become as powerful as a qualified Brahmana. So Prabhupada makes the point that Parikshit Maharaj was such a great king that he kept Varnashram so intact, that the power of the Varnas and the ashrams was so powerful in those days that even a young boy of a Brahmana could develop the tejas at that age itself, simply because of the excellent governance of Parikshit Maharaj. So the people prosper when the king is proper. When the king is proper, then naturally the people will also prosper. So therefore, this is another point in favor of Parikshit Maharaj, Prabhupada is mentioning. But by the influence of Kali, the son of a Brahmana became puffed up with Brahminical power. So, as I mentioned, the Shringi, the boy, opened his heart to envy and pride, and in this way allowed Kali to enter into his heart. And he became puffed up even more. And due to his inexperience and lack of proper education and lack of wisdom, he pronounced this terrible curse. So Prabhupada continues, the king is certainly the watchdog of the state in the sense that he keeps vigilant eyes over the border of the state for its protection and defense. But to address him as a watchdog is the sign of a less cultured boy. So if you remember in our previous session, Shringi, before he uttered his curse, he called Parikshit Maharaj all kinds of names. He called him a dog, a watchdog. You Kshatriyas are like watchdogs outside the house of a master of the Brahmana. The Brahmanas are like the master of the house, and you Kshatriyas are like the watchdogs outside. So this indicates the extent of envy that this Shringi had for the Kshatriyas, for him to come and say such heavy, strong words. A Brahmana is like a father of the entire Varna ashram. So can you imagine if a father speaks like that about his children, that you are all like dogs, you know? So the fatherly nature is protective, is nurturing. So why would somebody speak like this? It's due to nothing else but envy. So therefore, we can understand this. Then Prabhupada continues, the inexperienced boy gave a chance for the age of Kali to enter into the field of Vedic culture. So as I was mentioning earlier also, so this is the actually happening. Hatred of the lower orders of life began from this Brahmana boy. So this is what happened. This opened up the door. So Kali became very happy. Oh, the Lord has finally given his mercy to me. Now my time can begin. So I will use this incident. So the Kali started to enter. And in this way, in one go, he destroyed Varnashram. So this was the beginning of the destruction of the Varnashram Dharma by affecting the head of the society, the Brahmana itself. The Brahmana gets polluted, right? So the quarrel between the Kshatriya and the Brahmana will begin the destruction of the Kali, destruction of the Varnashram system. So Prabhupada continues, he tried to explain away his father's inhospitality in an impertinent manner befitting an uncultured boy. He was not at all sorry for the king's not being well received. So even Brahmana should understand that Varnashram is meant to uphold Dharma. So as Brahmanas, they should always be attached to upholding Dharma. They should not act adharmically. So a true Brahmana should feel sorry that Dharma was not upheld at any point. But instead of being sorry that a guest was not received properly, that it wasn't upheld at any point, he used it as a tool to uphold his pride and envy. So therefore, he started to justify. This is a very big thing in Kali Yuga. People like to justify matters. Even if people do something wrong, instead of unconditionally saying sorry, they'd like to justify themselves. Oh, I did wrong because you didn't do properly. You didn't do things nice. You said this to me, therefore I said like this. So get this justification is an endless loop. It goes like a loop. There is no beginning, there is no end. I behave sinfully because of you. And then the other person will say, but you are not supposed to act like this. So like that, it goes round and round and round. So this is another symptom of Kali, creating justification. So then Prabhupada continues. Thus, the downfall of the Brahminical powers began as they gave importance to birthright without culture. So this began with Shringi. So Brahmana means not simply being name, it's not Brahmana by name only, it's Brahmana by culture, by behavior. So behavior means culture, right? So culture here means Brahmana, basically culture of knowledge. So Prabhupada says, we don't want Brahmanas without knowledge. We want Brahmana means ones with they have the culture of knowledge. Simply knowledge and no culture also is pointless. The Brahmana may have so much of knowledge, but if he behaves in a way which is uncultured, then again it is pointless. The knowledge has to translate into Vaishnava Sadachar, into good etiquette, right? So therefore, this began. The Brahmanas are the heads of social order, and all other orders of society also began to deteriorate. So they began to deteriorate, starting from this boy, Shringi, who was used as a tool of Kali. So Prabhupada continues. Maharaj Parikshit gave license to Kali to live in 4 places, as mentioned here in 4. But by his very expert government and personality of Kali could hardly find the places allotted to him. So this I mentioned already. There was no other way for Kali to enter, if not for this. So the personality of Kali Yuga, therefore, was seeking the opportunity to establish authority, and by the grace of the Lord, he found the hole in the puffed up, inexperienced son of a Brahmana. So, in this way, he wanted to take the place of Lord Krishna. So, Shringi, if you remember our previous session, before he uttered the curse also, Shringi invoked the name of Lord Krishna. He said, "Oh, you think because Krishna has left the world, you can behave in whatever way you want? Just see what I'm going to do to you." So, he started thinking that he could take the position of Krishna to administer justice. So it is not the role of Brahmanas to administer justice, it is the role of Kshatriyas. So therefore, Brahmanas are to give advice. They do not become the executor. So, but here he decided to take the role of executor. He wanted to take the place of Lord Krishna after his departure. These are the principal signs of upstarts who want to take the place of Sri Krishna under the influence of age of Kali. So now we see in Kali Yuga, this is very common. Everywhere we will see. An upstart with a little power wants to become an incarnation of the Lord. So this is the ultimate. So there are many different levels of upstarts, people who like to, usurp the authority of the Lord. So there are small levels, and the ultimate level is they start thinking that I am now God. So and I am an incarnation of God. So that is where it ultimately leads to. This is just the beginning of the misuse. So then Sutta Goswami continues narrating to the sages of Naimisharanya. He calls them, "Oh Brahmanas, the Rishi Angirashaha." So he's referring to Samika Muni. Samika Muni is the son born in the family of Angirasa Muni. So therefore he's called Angirashaha. So Sutta Goswami is saying, this Samika Rishi, hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes. So this reveals that his trance was broken. You know, to he did not break his trance to serve Dharma, but he broke his trance to serve his attachment. So this is again an indication of Kali Yuga to indicate that this process of meditation, dhyana yoga, cannot work in Kali Yuga. So this meditation process, dhyana yoga, cannot work because the mind is always attached to the objects of the senses. So it's very difficult. So gradually opened his eyes and saw the dead snake, Mrita Uragam. Uragam means snake, Mrita means dead. Dead snake around his neck. So then he threw the dead snake aside and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone had done him any harm. On hearing this, the son explained to him what had happened. So the son told him everything that happened, how Parikshit Maharaj had come, and how he had put a date snake on him, and how he, after hearing this, he uttered a curse in retaliation, in revenge, to kill Parikshit Maharaj in 7 days' time. But the father, Samika Muni, he was still a Muni, though he was used by in this way, in this situation has happened, but he was still a great rishi. The father heard from his son that the king had been cursed. So when he heard that this is what has happened, right, then he became very aghast. He became, how can you do this? So the father heard from his son that the king had been cursed, although he should never have been condemned. So much the father knew. Amika Rishi, this indicates that he was still a proper Brahmana. It was just that the this situation has happened. So he knew that the king should never have been condemned. Why? Because he was Nara Indram. Nara Indram. Nara Indram means he is to be understood as the best of all human beings, the king of all human beings. So king literally, he was the king literally, but he was also king in quality. In terms of qualities, he was the best amongst all people because he was a great devotee of the Lord. He was endowed with all good qualities. So such a king should never have been condemned, especially for such an insignificant mistake. So the rishi did not congratulate his son. In Kali Yuga, what will happen? If somebody comes and says, hey, your son did like this or your child did like this, immediately the parents will take up arms and go and fight the case out. So they don't try to see, even if the child is wrong, even if the child he made a mistake, they would, in Kali Yuga this happens. Uh, they don't uphold dharma. They rather uphold their skin. So those who are attached to their family and things like that, they put family first before dharma. So that happens. So, but this rishi, he did not congratulate his son, but on the contrary began to repent. So this indicates that this person was also not an ordinary person. He was a very advanced person. He began to repent. So he regretted, saying, alas, what a great sinful act, Mahat. So he used the word Mahat. It was not just an ordinary sinful act, it was a Mahat sinful act which was performed by my son. He has awarded heavy punishment. What is that sin? That sin was that he had awarded heavy punishment, uruddamaha, heavy punishment for an insignificant offense. Atiyasi drohi. So he acknowledges that this is an offense. Yes, Brahmana should not be treated in this way. Yes, it's a drohi, but nevertheless, it's small. Alpiyasi. The word alpiyasi was used. Insignificant. Parikshit Maharaj did not harm the Brahmana. He did not attack the Brahmana. He did not use words to hurt the Brahmana. He didn't even harm the Brahmana. He didn't put a live snake on the Brahmana's neck. He put a dead snake. So it and after all, uh, you know, people who meditate, they like to meditate, imagining, following the instructions of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva himself wears snakes around his body. So therefore, it could be argued in a very fine way, that actually nothing, no real drohi was actually committed. So even if it was to be seen as a drohi, it's very, very insignificant. It's just a very minor thing. But what you have done, oh my son, you have sentenced him to terrible death. And oh my boy, your intelligence is avipakwa buddhi, immature. Your buddhi means intelligence. Your intelligence is immature. That, in other words, he's saying that you are not wise at all. You are like a fool. And therefore, you have no knowledge that the king is Nara Devam, Nara Indram. He is the best amongst all people, and he is the representative of the Lord. So he is to be worshipped like the Lord himself, right? Even the Brahmanas, when they assemble, they all chant Vedic hymns in praise of the king. Even though the king follows the order of the Brahmana, but the Brahmanas all give due respect to the king. So that is the very beautiful and cultured arrangement of the Vedic culture. Neither side takes advantage, neither side exploits the other, right? So there is a beautiful cooperation, all towards transcendence. So in this way, Varnashram aims towards transcendence. But everything has been broken, has been exploited, has been misused, and the entire system is dismantled now, unfortunately. So then Samika Rishi is telling this boy Shringi, you, because of your immature wisdom, although you have learned the Vedas, although you have understood, you have learned the scriptures, but your wisdom is immature. You do not know that how to treat the king, especially such a king. He's not just any ordinary king, he's Raja Rishi. And forget Raja Rishi, he is Maha Bhagavat. And look what you have done to him. He is never to be placed on an equal footing with common men. The praja means the living beings. All the living beings of the state live in prosperity only because they are being protected by his powers. Tejasa Durvishahina. Tejas Durvishahina means unsurpassable. It means nobody could defeat him. His powers are unsurpassed. Even Indra himself cannot defeat him. Even the great personalities cannot defeat him because he is protected by Lord Vishnu himself, Vishnu Rata. And and due to his prowess, Kali himself could not enter. And the entire living entities and living beings were fully protected due to him alone by his prowess. So it was a beautiful arrangement. Everything was going wonderfully. And look what you have done. You have put him like a common person and you have cursed him for an insignificant so called mistake. So Prabhupada says, in other words, the king can do no wrong. Because he was Mahabhagavat, we have already described how his activity was done that way because of the Lord's will. It happened due to the will of providence. The king is the best of all human beings. So we should also have this understanding, right? Uh, Especially a Raja Rishi. He is the representative of God. Listening to you, Mataji. Okay. He is the representative of God, and he is never to be condemned for any of his actions. Even if the king makes a mistake, even if he makes mistakes, still one should not condemn the king. So that is an important point, which is definitely not popular in Kali Yuga. So in Kali Yuga, that's why they completely dealt away with monarchy. Because, in Kali, people take exploitation. The point is not anyone you should put as a king. The king has to be properly trained. He has to have good qualities. So in such a person, when a properly trained king with good qualities has become a king, one should give him complete obedience. One should give him complete acceptance of lordship. So even when one mistake is made, two mistake is made, one doesn't judge. One continues under that, just like if a mother or a father makes mistakes in the upbringing of the child, does the child abandon the mother or the father and say, oh, you have made this one mistake, that one time, you fed me something wrong and I had gone through diarrhea and, therefore you're not fit to be my mother. Will the child say like that to the mother over an insignificant mistake? So, in the same way, the citizens of the kingdom should not reject a king who is righteous, who is proper, just because of some mistakes he might make. Hmm? So, that is the understanding. Because we have to treat him like God. So, same thing also with Guru. So one should be careful in relationship with Guru. One should not judge a Guru for this mistake. Sometimes, Guru may make apparently so-called mistakes. He may say one thing, and then, like for example, he may use a wrong English or a wrong grammar, or he may make wrong calculations. So, these are trivial. But his spiritual vision is never diverted. So therefore, one should not, think disparagingly of authority in this way, whether it is spiritual authority or material authority, so long as that person is of authority, is qualified, endowed with good qualities, established properly, right? Then one should. Otherwise, it will destroy and dismantle the system. When people start finding fault, then it dismantles the system. Without a system, then there is no hope. So that is the problem for society. And Kali Yuga takes advantage of all of this. It purposely uses all of these methods. So even if there is something wrong with the king, he is never to be condemned, Prabhupada says. So then it continues. My dear boy, Samika Rishi continues to address Shringi. So basically, these few verses in this chapter is indicating Samika Rishi's regret. He's repentful and he's regretting that this has happened, right? So my dear boy, the Lord, who is Ratha Angapani, one who carries the wheel of the chariot. Why he carries the wheel of the chariot? To protect. So therefore, he is referring to the Lord who protects, and he is represented by the monarchical regime. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says himself, amongst the humankind, I am the king. And what is the purpose of the king? He is to protect. That's why he is known as the representative of Ratha Angapani. Ratha Angapani means one who carries the wheel of the chariot. And that's the Lord, right? He carries the wheel. Like how Lord Krishna took the wheel to protect Arjuna from Bhishma. But Angapani, the wheel, can also be referred to the Sudarshan disc, the chakra. So the Lord raises his chakra to protect against the miscreants, against the demons, which would dismantle and destroy uh, Vedic culture and in this way dismantle transcendence. So Prabhupada says, just like how Lord Ram was also an ideal king, right? But even though Lord Ram was such an ideal king, still people could find fault. They came and told him, they said that how can Lord Ram accept Sita? So, but being a king is a heavy duty, is a heavy position. So the king's position is so heavy that he could not afford to have even one person doubt him. So because he understood how, if doubt were to come into the population, then Kali Yuga will come. So in Treta Yuga, it wasn't time for Kali Yuga yet. So therefore, to destroy the doubt in the population, he even sacrificed his own wife. He sent Sita into the forest just to ensure that the population does not doubt the king. Right? So important it was. So an ideal king thoroughly trained by culture and devotional service with godly qualities, with the martial spirit, makes a perfect king. Martial spirit means the important spirit of protecting. King is not simply a king by name alone, not simply for administrating alone. A leader or a king is not meant to just do administration and receive glory. He is meant to protect the martial spirit. And protection means with violence if necessary, right? In order to ensure dharma is always protected, in order to always ensure the brahmanas and the society are protected. So, and when this regime is abolished, whole world becomes filled with thieves. So this is what will happen if this is not upheld. If Vedic society is not upheld, if Varnashram, if Kshatriya and Brahmanas are not protected by the Kshatriyas, then Brahmanas, when they become corrupt and Kshatriyas become corrupt, then what will happen? The whole world becomes filled with thieves. So this is what's happening now, right? In Kali Yuga, Varnashram has been dismantled by Kali, and we have now capitalism instead of Varnashram. We have communism. So what is capitalism? It's defined as where you can enslave fellow humans and rape the planet and be praised for your good business sense. This is capitalism. So what it does, it creates a whole world full of thieves. And who are the thieves? The administrators are the thieves. Of course, the population also are like a thief, but because the administrators are elected from the population only, they also become like a thief. So here is a cartoon here. Give me all your money. Then this man says, but I'm a politician. Then this man says, okay, give me all my money. Because they know the politician steals the money from the population. So it's basically a world full of thieves. One thief steals from another thief, and another thief steals from that thief, and another thief steals from that thief. So it's basically a chain reaction of thievery. The state is an institution of theft. So here's another comic to show how the people elect the government to protect them. You know, in Malay, there's a proverb, right? Harapkan pagar, pagar makan padi. So the people out of faith let they elect a government, and the government is the one that sometimes steals from the people, from the population. So but smart government will steal in such a way that the people will not realize they are stealing, or they won't realize they are being exploited. But sometimes they make a mistake, and then the people realize they are being exploited, and then they start protesting. But then the government always hides. So now we know there are many situations like that in the world. What's happening in Turkey or Turkey, right? We have this guy Erdogan, who is a dictator, managed to stay in power for so many years and suppress the people. And the people are all going through demonstrations after demonstrations, major demonstrations. But still, Erdogan is holding in power and funding terrorism. He's supporting Pakistan in performing terrorism. So anyway, this is what's happening. So uh, institution is a theft. So Prabhupada comments, the thieves and rogues of modern democracy seek election by misrepresentation of votes. See, it's very nice the way Prabhupada used these words, by misrepresentation of votes. So these votes are simply putting unqualified people into the position, right? And all based on false promises and ideology, but ultimately it comes to only seeking their own goals. And the successful rogues and thieves devour mass of population. So this is what happens. It's common now in Kali Yuga. So what is the tool of a smart government? A smart thief government, you know he wouldn't want the population to find out about what they are doing. So they use a very special tool called propaganda. Propaganda is a very special tool. There are many things written about it. It's a big thing about studied in psychology. It's not new. It's been used for centuries. It's there in the art of war. It's there in even in the Vedas. Propaganda. So what is propaganda? Propaganda is an art of lying which often deceives its supporters more rather than the opponents. So it is to lie in such a way that it creates supporters for itself. It makes people itself start believing in those lies. So it's a very powerful tool, right? So this person is given the title Father of Propaganda. So he is one of those people who really this power of propaganda really came into limelight during the World War One and World War Two. So the Germans, the Nazis, they used this power of propaganda to great effect. So this is what he says, the father of propaganda. If we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. So this is what propaganda is. To understand, study psychology in such a way to know how people work and to use tools to control people, right? Without them realizing it. This is what's happening in the masses nowadays. Right? And propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will, that they are righteous. So you see this happening in the West countries these days, in US, right? How people are being propaganda is being used, to develop so many things. Later we'll show some examples. So this is Adolf Hitler. He really adopted this very much. By the skillful and sustained use of propaganda, one can make people see even heaven as hell or an extremely wretched life as paradise. So this is basically illusion. These are all tools of Kali Yuga. And here's another quote. Propaganda is as powerful as heroin. It surreptitiously dissolves all capacity to think. So people who fall prey to propaganda, they are not able to reason. They become attached to their agenda and they let go of reason. So therefore, Nazi propaganda minister, the Nazis, Adolf Hitler actually hired a minister for propaganda. He's called a propaganda minister. They actually had a ministry for propaganda. So this was what the minister said. Let me control the media and I will turn any nation into a herd of pigs. In other words, I'll make them do whatever I want. What do they do to pigs? They grow the pigs, they feed the pigs. The pigs think they are happy, but the pigs don't realize they are going to be slaughtered. And the pigs don't realize they are all grown, being fed just for the slaughterhouse. So this is what is the tool of propaganda? Media. So one has to be very, 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 very careful, especially these days, all the more about how propaganda can be used. So Sutta Goswami continues, right? So using these tools and all these things, when because the king is cursed, right? The whole world will become thieves in the future, and who will then at once vanquish the unprotected subjects like scattered lambs. So these are all descriptions about what is going to happen in Kali Yuga, even at that time, at the beginning of Kali Yuga. So Samika Rishi was telling all these things. These are common understanding. People used to know all these things. That's why they used to protect the Varnashram Dharma so carefully, so to ensure that these things don't happen. But this is the tool of Kali Yuga, right? So we will see more and more of this. COVID-19, another example of propaganda, another example of the tool, genetically engineered coronavirus pandemic, not a natural thing, right? Genetically engineered, and propaganda was used to further do so much of damage by vaccination and so many other things, right? So Prabhupada says one trained monarch is far better than hundreds of useless ministerial rogue. And it is hinted herein that by abolition of a monarchical regime like that of Mhj Parikshit, the mass of people become open to many attacks of the age of Kali. So these days, this is what's happening, right? Here are some examples of the propaganda these days that I like to show, right? One is the global arms sales. So we can see the world is moving towards a state of war. How the global arms sales is increasing year by year. Actually, this is the main people. The people in power are those who are profiting from this global arms sales. So, therefore, they are doing warmongering, what is called warmongering. They want war. The capitalists, 80% of the resources in this world is owned by 20% or even 10% of the capitalists in this world. So these 10%, these great powerful people, right? Certain few people, sometimes they call them the Illuminati group, right? Like, certain people, they what they do, they want to push governments to go towards war. So they pay politicians. They buy politicians, not only politicians, they buy every aspect of society. So they buy scientists, for example. They pay scientists, they buy journals, they pay the chief editors of journals, they buy judges, they buy, economists, and they pay them to say what they want them to say. So in this way, they paint propaganda pictures to make people feel insecure. This is the whole process of propaganda. It's to create false insecurity in people so that people will start creating faction, right? And this will all, in the end, help to increase the sales of weapons. That's the whole purpose. It's a huge lucrative market, right? Uh, so actually, there is enough food to feed 10 billion people easily, and you can double that simply by sustainable farming. But what is happening? This food security is a propaganda. There is no food insecurity. There is enough food in this world to grow. But what is happening? It is being misused. The food which is grown, you'll be shocked to know how much of the food grown goes to wastage. Human wastage is one thing, but a lot of it goes for animal wastage. Animal wastage in the sense that they use this grown fruit. 70% of the soya beans which are grown in the United States is used to feed livestock, not for human consumption. So it is used to feed cows and animals so that they can produce meat. So this is all, horrific ways in which uh, misuse of resources are being done. Same thing with water also. Same thing with pollution. So all these things, a lot of it. That's why being vegetarian is very important, right? It actually, you know, and what's worse now? Now they are starting to use food for bio resources. They want to produce fuel. They are growing hectares and hectares of area in the rainforest is being destroyed in order to grow sugarcane, not because they want to drink sugarcane juice, because they want to convert that into biofuel. So they can use that to circumvent the fuel market. So, and then we have genetically modified crops. There's a lot of propaganda going around previously to say that this is very good, but at the same time, some people manage to break this propaganda. So this is very dangerous. But still, in America, a lot of people they grow genetically modified crops. In Canada, anything coming from Canada, America, better be careful, right? It's a lot of it is genetic, unless it clearly says otherwise. No. And another place where these capitalist people, they have bought the pharmacology, they have bought the pharmaceutical companies. So therefore, they are not only doing warmongering, they are doing disease mongering also, so that they can sell their pharmacologist items. Therefore, many people have realized this, and they've written many books about such matters. How the pharma conspiracies are going about, the truth about drug companies, how they deceive us, and how you can read about it. Basically, in summary, it takes 8 years to bring a drug from the lab to pharmacy, and less than 18 months to obtain a new indication. So they sell the sickness. They bought the politicians, and the politicians have arranged such laws. They've made it very easy to produce drugs, and they are circumventing this more and more. So therefore, they sell sickness. How to do this? Step one, create a new condition, either by bioengineering or propaganda. Redefine an existing condition, for example, the common flu, make it look like it's some kind of huge, terrible thing. And then they make they use various propaganda techniques and tools to indicate that your life is in danger. And then they tell you, you must take this vaccine, you must take that shot, you must take these medications. But actually, the medications themselves continue the symptom. So we have this kind of situations happening. Then market the symptoms instead of the drug, and then offer pills to cure the disease. And you have a blockbuster sale. And this will, so like that, lah. Many, 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 many examples of propaganda. So then Sutta Goswami continues. Due to the termination of the monarchical regime and plundering of the people's wealth by rogues and thieves, right? So this is happening. People's wealth are being plundered by these rogues and thieves. So this is all true. This is not propaganda. This is the real truth, which is being covered by illusion, by the symptoms of Kali, due to our lack of understanding, due to our ignorance. We fall prey to the uh, people, to the politicians, right? To the farmers, to basically the capitalists. So you can see this comic here, right? So justice, it's not about justice, it's about just us. Take out the I and change it. It's not justice anymore. It's about just us, just the rich pharmaceuticals and the, the capitalist. So therefore, you can read about such things. Now we have the new world order. So there are some people who try to push this kind of situation. At the same time, there are a few people who also try to fight against it. So these things is continuously going on. And therefore, real knowledge, real understanding is very, very crucial, very, very important for people to understand what is illusion, what is not illusion. So, due to all this, what's the result of all this? The result of all this thievery and disruption and exploitation, result will be great social disruption. So this is happening, right? Great social disruption in different ways. Society will be put into anxiety and into fear and into upheaval, so that the warmongering and the disease mongering can go on, so that the capitalists can profit from this, right? So yeah, and as a result of these great social disruptions, the janaha, the people will be killed and injured, and animals and women will be taken. So that's what's happening now. Human trafficking, children trafficking, women trafficking, right? It's so blatant. It's happening everywhere, and it is being covered by propaganda. This is the statistics are extremely disturbing. But in order to not make people remember this, they like to cover this with various other political incidences, so that it distracts the people from the real problems of life, right? So you can see all these things are happening. uh, and 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 for all these sins we shall be responsible. So Samika Rishi is taking responsibility. He is not outsourcing his responsibility to others. He is taking full, he's accepting the situation. Father is responsible for the acts of the son, right? And Shringi acted in this way, and Samika Rishi is taking responsibility for this. And we shall be responsible for this. So what to do, right? And at that time, the people in general will fall systematically from the path of a progressive civilization in respect to the qualitative engagements of Varna and Ashram and the Vedic injunctions. So this is all will be part of Kali's plan. As society becomes disturbed, as society becomes disturbed and more atrocities start happening, they will start to lose more and more faith, and they will fall away from the system of Varna and Ashram, and they will completely abandon and reject the Vedic injunctions, because they will see exploitation at every level. They will see corruption at every level. And what will they do as a result? Then they will act contrary to the Vedic scriptures, and they will think that this is the right way to behave. This is the way to move forward in life. Therefore, we have the Women's Liberation Front. mm, So this is what the capitalists wanted to do, right? In order to increase the GDP, you know, when industrialization came, the capitalists started thinking, why only the men should go and work? If we can somehow convince the women to also abandon their home duties, then our GDP will become doubled, because now two times we will get the workforce. So therefore, they started pushing the propaganda. Yes, women empowerment. They started looking at social injustices that was happening around, how women were being mistreated. And they started to give media limelight to this. We are not denying that these things are happening. Yes, these are happening due to the exploitation of the people. But at the same time, the media started to selectively, systematically spotlight certain injustices to suit their agenda. Yes, the injustice is happening, true, but they close their eyes to other injustices and only spotlight on this injustice because it serves their agenda. So, in this way, then abortion is a right. So, with women's liberation came abortion. Abortion became a right now. It's no longer an social injustice, it became a woman's right. So, and forget about women's right. Now the latest tagline is abortion is healthcare. Abortion is the right of a healthcare. It is rightful healthcare of women. So to protect their health, they should commit abortion, right? And then now we have no longer women, men. Now there's transgender. There is now in between. We have transgender men, uh, you know, competing in women's sport. There are many, many examples in America, especially. Society has just gone mad. There was one man who became a woman and joined the women's boxing and bashed up the woman boxer. And this government allowed this to happen. They allowed men to become woman boxer and take part. So there's no chance. So these kind of situations are happening. So thus they will be more attracted to artha karma. Artha karma means kama. Artha means wealth and kama, lust. So all this is created systematically in this way so that they will be more and more attracted towards wealth and lust, fueling economic development, all for sense gratification, all to feed this fat man over here, you see here, sitting, eating up all the resources in this world. So these are all different business propagandas in order to guide society towards what they want. Towards what? Towards serving karma, their lust, and towards serving their wealth. And as a result, what will society degrade into? So Sutta Goswami says here, Samika Rishi is saying here, and as a result, there will be Varna Shankara, that means unwanted population, on the level of dogs and monkeys. Sunam Kapinam. Sunam means dogs, Kapi means monkeys. What dogs and monkeys do? They they have sex indiscriminately in the road, in anywhere they want. They don't care what is right and what is wrong. How do monkeys behave? Mischievously. So you can see here worldwide deaths in 2020. People talk so much about COVID death. 46,000 people died in 2020, right? But how many people died out of abortion? 10 million. COVID, seasonal flu, malaria, suicide, traffic fatalities, HIV, alcohol, smoking, cancer, hunger, all plus together cannot equal one half of what happened to abortion. There are 10 million deaths in 2020 due to abortions. In 2025, this 10 million has exploded to become 73 million now. 73 million deaths annually just for abortion, the number one killer of human life, not anything else, right? So Prabhupada says, a degraded civilization of sense gratification. What is abortion all about? Abortion is all about sense gratification and economic development because, you have to pay the abortion doctors, right? It's a booming industry. And is the byproduct of a godless or kingless government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So that is democracy. Prabhupada calls it demon crazy. The people should not, therefore, begrudge the poor administrations they themselves have elected. They themselves have elected this government. Everybody is very, very eager to take vote, to go and vote. But then when things go wrong, then they are very quick to begrudge. So there is karma involved. So, it's already 9:30. Okay, let me go very quickly. The Narapati Parikshit. So therefore, Samika Rishi continues. Oh, my son, this Narapati, Lord of all humans, this Parikshit Maharaj, is Dharma Phala. Dharmaphala means protector of the religion. He's protector of religion. He is Brihat Pravaha. He is highly celebrated. Many innumerable good qualities. And most importantly, he is Maha Bhagavata. He is a great devotee of the Lord. He is Raja Rishi, saintly king. And he is Haya Medha Yat. He is one who had performed countless sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord. Hmm? When such a king is tired and fatigued, being stricken with hunger and thirst, he does not at all deserve to be cursed to death, right? Samika Rishi is telling his son. So, Brahmanas, being at the head of the social order, are meant to be merciful. They are meant to give protection to their subordinates and not to curse them over insignificant activities like this. Right? Then the rishi prayed. So now the verse comes from regret and repentance. What do we do when we regret and we repent? We should pray. So the Samika Rishi started praying to the all-pervading personality of Godhead to pardon his immature boy who had no intelligence, who committed the great sin of cursing a person like Mhj Parikshit, who was Apapeshu, who was somebody who cannot be touched by sin. This was such a person who was subordinate. Not only he was such a great personality, he was subordinate to the Brahmanas and he was subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore deserved to be protected. So therefore, Amika Rishi knows this is the will of providence. The Lord has ensured that this happens. So now he is praying for forgiveness for his son, Amika Rishi. So then the question may be asked, why the Brahmana community as a whole was made responsible for allowing Kali into the world, right? So why the entire community of the Brahmanas is to be blamed for the activity of this one boy, Sringi, right? So Prabhupada gives a revelation to that. He mentions the Varaha Purana. So in the purport, he mentions in the Varaha Purana, it is mentioned that the demons who acted inimically towards the Lord but were not killed by the Lord in the previous incarnations, they were allowed to take birth in the families of the Brahmanas to take advantage of the age of Kali. So this is a very interesting point. This point says that in previous incarnations of the Lord, like in Mahabharata, when Krishna came, or when in different incarnations, sometimes there were some demons who were still left here and there. So they were not killed by the Lord. So they were allowed to take birth again in Kali Yuga as Brahmanas, in the families of Brahmanas, just to dismantle and destroy the Varnashram system. Uh, because when they are demons, they take birth in these families, Kali can enter into their hearts, and using their status as Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, they can cause irreparable harm to the Varnashram system. It can destroy the faith of the society because of them taking due exploitation. The demons, instead of utilizing the great opportunity of being born in a Brahmana family, because they are demons, they misuse the Brahminical culture due to vanity, due to pride. So this is the thing. Even also, we are born in the family of devotees also. If we don't take advantage of that position, instead become proud of our birth, then we are also acting like demons, and we are serving we are serving Kali. We are not serving the Lord. The Prabhupada says Rishi Samika also knew that the Lord does not forgive a person who has committed an offense at the feet of a devotee. That's why Samika Rishi is praying, even though he knew Lord can only give direction to take shelter of the devotee. So anyway, in later chapters, in later in later verse cantos, we will hear how Samika Rishi actually goes to Parikshit Maharaj, and he apologizes to Parikshit Maharaj and tells Parikshit Maharaj what is about to happen. So he is hoping that Parikshit Maharaj will forgive his son Ringi. So with that, we come to the last verse, the second last verse. The devotees of the Lord are so forbearing that even though they are defamed, they are cheated, they are cursed, they are disturbed, they are neglected, and even if they are killed, they are never inclined to avenge themselves. Although they are certainly powerful. Prabhavo hi api. This is how we can understand who is a pure devotee. A pure devotee always feels he is humbler than a blade of grass, and he always is very, very meek and humble when it comes to himself. Just like Parikshit Maharaj, we saw how Parikshit Maharaj was so bold and brave when it came to protecting the cow and the bull. But when it comes to his own self, we will hear in the next chapter how Parikshit Maharaj doesn't retaliate, even though he is being defamed or whatever, even though that is going to come to him, he doesn't lift a finger against it. So it's a very interesting point. We will talk about that point more deeper in the next chapter. Right? So Prabhupada says the devotee of the Lord, even though he may not be a Brahmana, is more powerful than a Brahmana. Whatever power the devotee may have is always utilized in service towards the Lord and his devotees only. He doesn't use this for his own satisfaction. In other words, he doesn't misuse his prestige, his power, or his position. That is a devotee. Even if famed, cheated, cursed, disturbed, neglected, or even killed. And because of this, the devotee is very, very dear to the Lord. A powerful devotee never misuses the power for personal benefit. This is why they are very dear to the Lord. The Lord personally takes their welfare into his own hands. The Mahamuni thus regretted sin committed by his own son. He did not take the insult paid by the king very seriously. So from here we can understand that Samika Rishi also was not an ordinary person. Although he wasn't a devotee following the Bhakti path, he was a yogi, nevertheless. He was a transcendentalist following the meditation path. But we saw how his meditation was broken by the effect of Kali, right? So we can see how the Bhakti path is superior. Mm. But both are transcendentalists, Amika Rishi and Parikshit Maharaj. We can see how both of them did not take it seriously, the situation. So this is the symptom of a transcendentalist. So we like to end with this verse. Prayasaha sadhavo loke parayadvandeshu yojitaha na vyatanti na harsyanti yata atma gunashrayaha. Generally, the transcendentalist, even though seemingly engaged by others in the dualities of the material world, not distressed. What it means? It means devotees, it may look like devotees are acting in normal work, they are doing their normal activities. It may even seem like as if they are trapped in a duality situation, that they are having, contests or problems or situations, but they are never really distressed. They are simply doing this because it's a service for the Lord. Nor do they take pleasure in worldly things, for they are transcendentally engaged. So similarly, even though cursed to death, Parikshit Maharaj, we will see in the next chapter how he behaves. And Samika Rishi, even though he knows his son is being, he has behaved in such a way, right? He is still transcendentally engaged and he is asking for forgiveness. He is not disturbed that he has been disrespected or anything like that. So Prabhupada says the king was a devotee, the rishi was a mistake. Therefore, both of them were transcendentalist and unattached to the accidental incident created by the Lord's will. The child was but an instrument of Kali. Right? So this is transcendental consciousness. Let us end here. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So Hare Krishna, thank you very much, devotees, taking your time so much today. 9:40, we're already a bit late. Any questions? Any clarification you'd like to raise?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Bye.
Sorry, Prabhu, sorry. Prabhu, this Rishi, Samaka Rishi,
Mm,
he's such a great personality.
mm,
And he taught all the mantras to his son,
mm,
where it became very effective, even though a small, immature boy.
mm,
Definitely, Samaka Rishi would have known how to recall the curse.
mm,
But why didn't recall the curse? One.
mm,
My second question,
mm,
in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1848,
uh-huh.
just now you said Maharaj Parikshit counter curse, you would have been saved. How is that? Huh? If counter curse, both parties will be cursed, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how can Maharaj Parikshit save?
No, Maharaj Parikshit didn't say that. This is
1:1848.
1:1848. No, Parikshit Maharaj didn't counter curse. That's purport,
No,
right?
the Rishi Muni thought
Uh-huh.
within himself that if Maharaj Parikshit would have counter cursed the boy,
Uh-huh.
he might be saved. But he knew that also the pure
Oh,
devotees, uh,
they are never inclined to avenge
I'm reading the
themselves.
purport.
So it's a purport. It's not Samika Rishi saying that. Prabhupada is explaining, because you see when you read scriptures, there are so many situations people counter curse each other. When somebody gets cursed, out of revenge, they curse you back. It's like I curse you, you curse me, I curse you, you curse me. So many incidents like that. So, but here we see devotees don't behave like that. There's one incident how Garuda was cursed by what's the name of the rishi? Uh, the one underwater. I forgot the name of the rishi. Anyway, that rishi cursed Garuda, but Garuda never cursed him back, and like that. So devotees never curse back. But you're right. Counter cursing, and Prabhupada says, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, will leave the whole world blind and toothless. So if everybody thinks that way, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, then the whole world will become toothless and the whole world will become blind only. It's not that the eyes will be restored. So you're right. Counter cursing will not help, right? So, but it's the natural inclination of most people to counter curse. When somebody feels they are cursed, like this happened to Indra. Indra, when somebody cursed Indra, Indra immediately cursed them back. So these kind of things happen. So that's why Prabhupada is making the point that he may have thought that way, right? Or he could even have used his own power. Parikshit Maharaj was so powerful. Brahmastra couldn't kill Parikshit Maharaj because the Lord protected him. Brahma Astra couldn't kill, but Brahma Tejas can kill? No. So if Parikshit Maharaj wanted, he could have prayed to the Lord for the Lord to protect him. The Lord will find some way to protect him, right? But that's not how devotees think. So therefore, that's what Prabhupada is saying here, right? In the purport. So he didn't think about countering the curse. He didn't even think about counter cursing also. So this is how transcendentalists behave. They accept everything. So this understanding is in any situation in life, we have to see the hand of the Lord. We have to take the situation in a positive or in a devotional spirit, in a devotional light. There is a silver lining in every dark cloud. So in this incident, Krishna is trying to use Parikshit Maharaj to show the glory of his devotees and to give an example to everyone in this world who is trying to follow in the footsteps of devotees that, do not retaliate in this way. When somebody attacks us, we need to, I need to tell this to myself. When somebody attacks us, we have to, control our anger. We have to see things in the perspective of devotion. What is the Lord trying to teach me? What is happening? why am I going through this? One should be introspective, and one should try to see the hand of the Lord in every situation. Definitely, it is the hand of the Lord. The Lord never, in a devotee's life, one never is, everything that happens, it's always due to some intervention by the Lord. So we have to see it that way. Does that answer?
Okay, Prabhu. But the Samaka Rishi knows
Mm,
during the absence of Parikshit Maharaj,
mm,
Dharma will die. But
mm.
why didn't he recall back the curse? Let it go.
Yeah, he cannot recall, Prabhu. The mechanics of how curses work is only the same person can take back the curse. But even that also, usually they can't. In fact, there is no scriptural evidence where I have read where somebody could recall the curse. Even when somebody has cursed and accidentally have cursed, and then they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, please forgive the curse." Like even Narada Muni, when he cursed Manigriva and Nala Kuvera, they repented and they said, "I'm sorry." But once a curse is given, you cannot take it back. So that's why one has to be very careful with one's words. Once it's the words and the curses are like arrows. When you release an arrow, you cannot pull back the arrow. Once it's released from the bow, the arrow flies. That is not, you can't pull it back. You can try to deflect it, you can try to counter it in other ways, but you can't pull back the curse. So Sringi couldn't pull back the curse, and Shamika Rishi also couldn't pull back the curse. They could only
It's
hope
just
for the
like a
Lord.
Gandhari.
Yeah,
Just like Gandhari curse to Krishna, the
correct.
destruction of the Yadu dynasties, eh?
Yeah. So there is no situation where curse can be pulled back. Once released, it's released. Right? So that's how it works.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
The value of curse now
Yeah.
is clear.
That's why Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, one should be very careful with their words. One should practice austerity of speech. Austerity of speech, that's there in chapter 17. One should only speak when it's truthful, when it is kind, when it is beneficial, and when it is not agitating to someone's mind, and also when it is of the scriptural truths, following the scriptural injunctions. Otherwise, one should keep quiet. Prabhupada says, like if somebody likes to talk a lot, it's like the frog. The frog talks a lot, and the croaking of the frog only attracts the snake. So one should not croak unnecessarily like the frog. One should practice austerity of speech and be careful. Okay, Prabhu, does that answer?
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very
Thank
clear.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
If you have any
Thank
further
you.
questions, you can put it in the WhatsApp chat and we can discuss it.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thanks very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.